All right, good morning. Thank you for being here today for Partnerships 101. We're going to talk about building strong collaborative relationships, just looking at the people in the room. I know you'll have a lot to share with about this because you're already doing this in a lot of ways, but hopefully you can take a nugget or two with you. I'm Stephanie with Beyond School Bells. I'm really glad you're here. So we will start quickly with since we just have 30 minutes today, if you could share in the chat your name, your organization, and your role, and then what's one partnership that your program currently has that's going really well, or one dream partnership that you have. Let's take a minute and share that. If anybody wants to share a dream partnership or a um, current partnership, unmuted, feel free, since we do have a smaller group.
I can go. Sorry, I don't know what my video's not on. There it is. I'm really excited. I got a friend that I reached out to that works for the National Forest Services, and so I actually got a deal going with them, and they just started last week with us, and I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome. I'll be excited to hear how that goes. Awesome. Thank you for sharing some good ones in the chat. Well, I think everyone knows me. You may not have seen this picture of me because I originally did this presentation with a group of 4-H, new 4-H educators. So I chose this picture because this was me doing some learning how to sew for 4-H at age 9, and I just love it. It's so 90s, such a 90s picture. So that's me. Um, I am with Beyond School Bells, and I do a lot of work around strategy and partnerships. So partnerships is just that's kind of the way I go about life is collaboration, working with others. I love building partnerships and fostering existing ones. All of you, we partner in many different ways. I love our partnership with 21st Century Community Learning Centers, as well as all of your programs. So Beyond School Bells, I left this in here. I think most of you know, but maybe for those watching, if you don't know, Beyond School Bells is a program of Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. We are Nebraska's statewide after-school network, and we do work to support high-quality, locally sustainable after-school and summer programs. So we do that in a lot of ways, one of which is providing professional development like today. So why would we partner? Um, it's a pretty basic question, but really we all know none of us can do our work, the work we really want to do, seeing youth thrive on our own. And partnerships help us to multiply impact, multiply resources. Um, we really are better together. That's not just a saying, it's really true. So it's really important that we build those relationships. So I'm curious to hear either feel free to unmute or in the chat, what are characteristics of a good partnership? What does that look like?
One thing that I would say for that is just if you can find ways so that the partnership can be mutually beneficial, it just really helps towards working together and kind of meeting goals on both sides of the partnership.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Leah put in the chat, effective communication. Absolutely. Well, I'm pretty sure you nailed a couple of these on the head. First of all, one thing I think of is you want to make sure that you have shared goals and values. So your missions do not have to perfectly align, but they do need to be compatible. There does need to be overlap. So is there enough overlap that it makes sense? Would be a great first question. And then Stacy got this one perfectly. We need there to be mutual benefit. You can ask for things constantly, and maybe you're going to get a couple of times, but that's not developing a partnership. That's, receiving in-kind support. That's not a partnership. Partnership goes back and forth. And then Leah got this one. Clear communication and expectations. Want to make sure everyone knows what's going on and has a handle on what's expected of each member of the partnership. Trust and reliability on both sides, right? You're building that trust, you're showing up for each other, you're doing the things you say you're going to do. And then complementary strengths. You want to think about this goes with that mutual benefit, but what they bring plus what you bring are more than what either of you can do alone. So what do they have that you don't have and you have that they have? So thinking about where are those areas of your program that you could use a boost? And then what could you offer? So we're going to take just a minute. I'm going to share in the chat a couple of links. I'm going to stop sharing this for a minute. So there is both a PDF and a Canva template. So if you have a Canva account, you can go to the template and you can actually enter, if you want to type answers to these questions, or if you just want to look at the questions. And this is a tool, the PDF version of this, you can feel free to use with your community partners or with your staff or whatever works for you. So feel free to look at that. I want you to take just a few minutes and think about that first question. Just brainstorm potential partners in your community. So I know many of you have partners that you already have. So if you want to say, here's who I already have, and then maybe are there some other potentials? Oh, darn it. I didn't give you permission again. I'm blaming the sickness this time. I will get that fixed. Okay, it should be fixed now, that new link. You'd think I'd learn. I think I did it all 3 weeks. At least.
You got it. It's golden now.
So yeah, take just a couple minutes and do that first part. And then when you're ready to move on, you can work on the bottom. So as you think about like what are the strengths that pick one partnership, what are the strengths that they have, what are strengths that you have, and what might be possible together. So you're not going to be able to maybe you've got like a stellar idea and you're going to run with it after this meeting, but you may not come up with anything well developed in the next 4 minutes, but just take some time. And if you're a verbal processor, I'd love to hear what you're thinking. So feel free to share. As you've started to work through that, anything, any aha moments or thoughts that you're having? That's great, Leah. Leah wants to strengthen their partnership with Midland and work more with high school groups like CTE. Yeah, see lots of mutual benefits we've seen in programs, especially with CTE, career technical education groups in other programs that the mutual benefits very clear, right? That you can get some support with your programming and maybe they can get volunteer hours or experience leading and teaching kids. Um, that's a great example. Any other thoughts? I know I'm not giving you nearly enough time, but I hope this can be a tool that you can use with your teams moving forward. Well, feel free to continue to work on that and share in the chat or unmute if you'd like later. I'll get back to my slides. All right. So when you're thinking about starting a partnership, and none of you are starting from scratch. So this may look a little different, but you know, Keisha, you're new to your role, so maybe some of these things will even be in partnerships that already exist, right? Um, and if it's a partnership that's been happening a long time, there's likely some things that have changed in their organization. So um, some of these things, you know, doing some homework and research about the organization isn't necessarily a bad thing, even if you're not at a starting point in the partnership. So do your homework, research the organization, understand their goals, um, know who's on their board, know you know what connections you already have, what's their mission and vision. And then when you make the initial contact, again, not rocket science. None of this is rocket science, but you want a warm introduction, not cold outreach, right? So you're going to come as a human being and not as a, hey, I need hamburger buns for this event. How can you start that introduction in a warmer way? You could also think of it as transformative relationship versus transactional. If people know if you know, all you're there for is to get something out of them. But if you're building that relationship from the start, it's going to make a big difference. And it goes towards, again, building that partnership rather than that interaction to get stuff, which truly is not a partnership. And then lead with curiosity. Um, very connected to the last point. How can we support each other rather than here's what I need? Um, and be curious about them as a person and about their organization. Start small. Um, pilot a project before making a long-term commitment. I'm sure there have been instances where people have just gone big and it's gone great, but just for, you know, the wise thing is probably to start small and then you can always build from there. And then once you do decide to start a partnership, get it in writing. Um, it doesn't have to be like a legal document, but you do want to make sure there's clear expectations, roles. So whether that's an MOU, which is a little more formal, a memorandum of understanding, or a chain of emails that shows what the agreement is, or a document where you've made what this project looks like. It's just important to have that in writing so you can refer back to it. Or we know how often people change roles, right? So somebody is new now in the other organization and they know nothing about this project. It's a great way to get them up to speed if it's already in writing. Um, we don't like to think about the fact that sometimes partnerships just aren't a right fit, but sometimes they're not. So when you're looking at partnerships, um, sometimes there are red flags. If your values are not aligned, and maybe they're aligned on paper, but when they're lived out, they're really not. So that's something to keep an eye on. Partners who don't communicate, partners that feel extractive or exploitive, like they're just coming at you. You have that feeling of like, you just want something from me. Um, Unreliable follow through. Those are all things, and I'm sure, again, none of this is rocket science. You all know these things, but just things to be aware of. Um, and then kind of on the flip side, top tips for you to be a good partner and things to look for. Show up and follow through. Do what you say you're going to do. Communicate proactively. Um, there's probably not enough communicate. You're not going to be possible to over communicate in a partnership. It may be possible, but knowing how busy you all are, it's probably not possible. Give credit generously. We don't need to like claim our little corner of the sandbox in partnership, right? We can all share the space and we can give each other credit. Think long term, which I think goes to the giving credit generously, right? Like you can try to claim an award today, but is that going to help you long term in your partnership? And then know when to say no, I think is a really important one. We want as many partnerships as we can have, but if it's not a good partnership, it's going to suck your energy. It's going to, take your staff's time and their energy. And it's not worth it in the end if it's not a good partnership. So biggest piece in partnership building is remembering you don't have to do it all alone. The best partnerships just start with the conversation. So just as you think about the list you've made, is there anyone that not probably this week since it's Thursday morning, but within the next week or two, is there anyone that you think you will reach out to? Curious, either in the chat or unmute.
So we are having a luncheon next Friday. And so we have invited a lot of people's different stakeholders and a lot of people that we just are hoping, to develop a relationship with. So I'm really hoping that can be a time that we can start some of those conversations, have introductions, all of those things to hopefully come out of it with some new ideas and some new plans. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think Keisha's they're going to be doing that in Scottsbluff as well, a similar event this spring. So I think that's a fantastic way to kind of educate folks on what your programs are. And so they can have that baseline. They don't have to go out of their way to do that research piece of building a new relationship. And then you can start from there. So I think that is fantastic. Any other thoughts?
Know that Heather has done a good job of like creating a brochure about their program and then also including like how you can support the program. Maybe it's bringing a program in. Maybe it's financially, maybe it's volunteers, like, but really kind of spelling that out there. So it's not like, oh, this is nice, but this is how next steps can happen. So,
Yeah,
another way to do that.
I like that. Oh, good. Yes, Leah is partnering with one of my favorite organizations in Fremont. They're going to do literacy and lobs with Woods Tennis. So it's a literacy and tennis program. So I'm very excited. They're piloting that for us. So yes, they're just the best. They are great partners. That was Caitlin came and did a presentation on how to be a good partner at our last Innovation Invitational. So yeah, I love that. This is what I said. You all are doing this already. And that's all I have for you. So I think all of you have my email address. Any other thoughts or questions you have for each other? All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Um, yeah, yeah, we'll keep talking about partnerships because they are so important to the work that we all do. It's just the start of the conversation. All right, have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.